Exposed. The sinister secrets of a haunted research submarine. 7 terrifying discoveries revealed. The night air in the small Midwestern town felt thick with an unsettling sort of dread as Jenna stepped into the research facility. The endless steel corridors stretched before her like the gaping maw of a beast ready to swallow her whole. A chill slithered down her spine as the heavy door clanged shut behind her, sealing her within the haunted halls housing a retired submarine shrouded in mystery. Whispers of horror weaved through the air, secrets of a crew that vanished without a trace after Cold War experiments gone awry. Something sinister was lurking, and it felt all too real. With every sweep of her mop against the cold, hard floor, Jenna's heart raced. Strange sounds echoed through the empty chambers, the drips of water, a phantom breeze, and the subtle scuttling of something just out of view. There were moments when she caught fleeting shadows, quick flickers that left her breath caught in her throat. Each creak and groan of the building sounded like a warning. It was a haunting, waiting to consume her. Things worsened when she stumbled across a crumpled sheet in a long-forgotten corner. Blood-stained deck plans detailing horrific experiments on sailors. Jenna's stomach twisted, nauseous at the thought of what had transpired behind the submarine's rusted hull. The dim fluorescent lights buzzed overhead, casting eerie shadows that twisted the room into a macabre theater of horrors. The very air felt tainted, and Jenna could hardly breathe. She had to shake the feeling that something within those walls was alive, and it was watching her. Before long, the quiet intensity of her shifts grew unbearable. Just as she grappled with this despair, the tension peaked when Alex disappeared into the overwhelming shadows of the facility. Driven by deep-rooted curiosity, he followed his mother to the sinister world, drawing them both in. As Jenna raced through the corridors shouting his name, she couldn't ignore the foreboding realization. Her neighbors had whispered strange tales about the facility, and the authorities turned a blind eye, as if they were part of something much larger, something vile beyond comprehension. She refused to believe it at first, but the cries of sailors echoed hauntingly in her mind, torturing her thoughts with their despair. They had been tasked with forgotten duties, dark secrets held tightly by those they once believed would protect them. Confronting her boss, who had once been a figure of admiration, Jenna found tangled webs of deceit that gripped her like an iron vice. Dark truths unveiled themselves, and it became undeniable that they weren't just whispers from the past. Corruption seeped through the town like an endless tide. Just as clarity began to dawn, the atmosphere surged into chaos. Shadows twisted, darkened voices rang out, and disembodied laughter morphed into something sinister. The temperature dropped, sending icy chills coursing through her veins as the lights flickered, painting grotesque images across the walls. Suddenly, Alex's happy voice twisted in her ears, growing deeper, almost mocking. Something was wrong, terribly wrong. Each heartbeat thundered as she became acutely aware that the very fabric of her life was unraveling. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Just as she approached the submarine's looming silhouette, a deafening silence engulfed her. Jenna stood frozen, the walls trembling with the weight of forgotten history. She faced an impossible choice: flee with her son or descend into the waking nightmare that threatened to swallow them whole. As her heart pounded in her chest, she glared into the darkness. The whispers grew louder, beckoning her deeper into a reality she was ill-prepared to confront. Would she succumb to the shadows, or would she uncover the truth that might just save them both? Jenna took a shaky step forward, her breath hitching in her throat. The darkness seemed to pulse, alive with malevolence. Shadows danced at the fringes of her vision, twisting and stretching, making her question her sanity. Was she imagining this, or was something truly lurking just beyond the dim glow of the lights? She had to find Alex. The thought propelled her forward, even as her feet felt heavy, as if they were sinking into the very floor. Alex, her voice echoed, swallowed by the cavernous space and replaced by mocking laughter. The sound sent icy fingers creeping up her spine. She hesitated, the weight of her fear almost pulling her back. But she had no choice, she had to keep searching. The submarine was massive. Its hulking form loomed ahead like a beast waiting to drag her in. As she drew closer, the familiar sounds of the facility became distorted. The drips of water morphed into soft whispers, the hum of machinery into low growls. Every instinct screamed at her to run. But behind her fear was the thought of Alex, alone, lost, perhaps in danger. She forced her trembling hands to push against the cold metal, forcing the door open and entering the submarine's cramped confines. Once inside, the atmosphere changed. The air thickened with a palpable tension. Dim emergency lights flickered overhead, revealing rusted pipes and peeling paint. A faint scent of salt water mixed with something far more sinister tickled her nostrils, a mix of decay and despair that clung to the walls as if they were soaked in the memories of the crew. She focused on staying calm, remembering the little boy's laugh, his curiosity, and then it hit her. The laughter that had echoed back at her was not just a figment of her own mind. It was too close, too real. Alex, panic laced her voice as she navigated through cramped passageways. Each bump and scrape set her heart racing anew, fueling the shadows that pressed closer. Suddenly, a door slammed somewhere behind her. The clamor echoed as she jumped, whirling around, heart throbbing in her ears. Was it Alex? Or was the darkness alive, celebrating her fear? Then she saw it, a flicker of movement at the end of the corridor. Jenna's breath quickened. "Alex," she called again, a desperate plea that felt like it could break the brittle silence. She sprinted toward the flicker, praying it was him. The light pulsed, flickering like a heartbeat. As she approached, she caught sight of a figure small, silhouetted against the bright glow of a monitoring screen. Jenna rushed forward, relief flooding her senses, only for it to transform into horror. The figure twisted, its features distorted and alien. "Mommy." It was Alex, but not Alex. His voice dripped with an unnatural intonation, sending a chill of dread cascading down her spine. Her instincts screamed to turn away, to run. But it was too late. The air crackled, shadows converged, and she was engulfed in a whirlwind of darkness that felt almost like a living entity. The submarine quaked, its metallic groans echoing the sinister laughter that filled her ears. Objects around her began lifting, suspended as if caught in the grip of something unholy. It was like a dark crescendo, building to a climax she couldn't bear to face. With a final roar, everything plunged into darkness, and Jenna felt herself being pulled apart by unseen forces. Then, silence, a void that swallowed her screams. What had she awakened? A distant echo broke the stillness, a truth she was not prepared to confront. Was this the fate of all who trespassed here? Each second felt like a lifetime, and fear seeped into her bones. She struggled to rise, her voice lost amidst the churning shadows. But as the darkness began to lift, Jenna sensed movement, shadows shifting and swirling together, taking form. What awaited her in this new reality? Would she emerge stronger, or would she become just another name in a long, haunted history? Through the haze, a chilling whisper sent shivers down her spine. "Are you ready to dive deeper?" Jenna stirred, her body heavy, as if she were awakening from a deep, oppressive slumber. The darkness loomed like a shroud around her, thick and suffocating. She blinked, trying to clear her vision, but all she saw were the swirling shadows that danced defiantly. The echo of that chilling whisper still reverberated in her mind. "Are you ready to dive deeper?" With shaking hands, she pushed against the cold metal surface beneath her. As she struggled to sit up, pain shot through her limbs, sharp and biting. It felt like the remnants of whatever malevolence had claimed her were still wrapped tightly around her, reluctant to let go. Panic clawed at her chest. Where was Alex? Her heart raced as she recalled the vision of him, a grotesque reflection that shook her core. This can't be happening, she thought, rising to her feet with a surge of determination. The air felt electrostatic, pulsating around her as if alive. The dim lights flickered again, revealing more of her surroundings. She found herself in what looked like the control room of the submarine, instruments and monitors blinking erratically. But there were no signs of life. Her breaths came in quick gasps as she stepped over scattered papers and twisted metal, desperately searching for any clue of Alex's presence. Suddenly, the silence was broken by a distant thud, echoing like a heartbeat. Jenna turned sharply, the sound ricocheting off the walls, drawing closer. "Alex?" Her voice trembled, laced with hope and dread. But instead of an answer, there was only that same chilling laughter, ringing out like a taunt in the shadows. She shuffled toward the source of the sound, her heart hammering. Shadows flickered just outside her view, slipping silently along the edges. Every corner held the promise of horror, and Jenna could feel the darkness encroaching on her sanity. She clenched her fists, reminding herself that she was looking for her son. With newfound resolve, Jenna made her way to the hatch, her hand curling around the cold handle. Just as she pushed it open, a cold draft rushed in, sending shivers through her, tightening her throat. The world outside the submarine was obscured by waves of darkness, but she could hear muffled cries. They sounded like Alex, or perhaps like someone else. Without thinking, she climbed out, pushed by instinct, propelled by love. The outside was just as foreboding. The sea roiled like a swirling pit, shadows lurking beneath the surface. She felt like a moth drawn to a flame, her pulse racing as she made her way towards the howling cries. As she approached the edge of the deck, the sea surged violently. Whitecaps crashed roughly against the hull, cloaked in the echoes of despair. Suddenly, she spotted something in the waves, a small hand reaching out. Her heart dropped, terror clenching at her gut. "Alex!" She lunged forward, but the moment her fingers brushed the water, a grip wrapped around her ankle with an ironclad hold, wrenching her backward into the darkness of the submarine. This time, there was no laughter. Only an eerie silence settled like a weight on her chest. She gasped, panic striking hard as she felt herself being pulled down, deeper and deeper. The submarine's interior was shifting again, warping like a nightmare, the shadows coalescing into shapes that were all too familiar. "Please," she gasped, her voice barely escaping the dark waters that surrounded her. The pressure of darkness bore down on her, suffocating and constricting, and it felt like the walls of the submarine were closing in, ready to swallow her whole. What force had she awakened? And what awaited her in this watery grave of forgotten souls? Jenna's mind raced. As the darkness enveloped her, one haunting thought pierced through. You must choose. Will you come to find me, or will you remain buried in the depths? Just then, the shadows began to retract, revealing a figure standing before her, shrouded in darkness. Jenna's heart froze. She recognized those features. It was Alex. But was this truly her son, or a twisted reflection of what he had become? A single tear trailed down her cheek as she struggled to comprehend the choice looming before her. Would she choose the depths of shadow, or risk everything to find the light? There was no turning back now. Jenna's breath was shallow, quickening as she stared at the shadowy figure before her. The murky water filled her ears with muffled sounds, but the world shrank to just this one sight: her son, or whatever this horror had molded him into. As she reached out a trembling hand, the figure recoiled slightly, seemingly not from fear, but from a deep, unfathomable sorrow. "Mom," the voice was fractured, distorted by the darkness. The syllables stretched out, twisting around her like tendrils, a siren song calling her closer. "You shouldn't have come. Alex," she cried, desperation flooding her voice. "I'm here. I've come for you." But then the darkness pulsated, and her heart sank as she realized the shadows weren't just moving. They were alive, writhing as if they carried the weight of every soul lost in these depths. The blackness churned, revealing faces she had never known, desperate eyes, mouths silently screaming, a parade of forgotten victims. "Help us," another voice chimed in, echoing through the suffocating weight of despair. "We're trapped just like you." Jenna stumbled back, her mind racing. She was not alone. Didn't he just have to save her son? What if there were others down here, lost souls, trapped by some malevolence? "What do you want from us?" she shouted into the abyss. "Your choice," the deepest voice murmured, wrapping around her like a cold shroud. "To join us, or to save him." Alex's figure shimmered in and out, like a mirage refusing to stay still. "Mom, please," his eyes pleaded, but there was something more behind them, a flicker of something dark. "You can't stay here." The shadows dripped down the walls of the submarine, pooling like oil, distorting everything around her. Jenna felt the walls closing in, smothering her hope. She took a deep breath and pressed forward, pushing through the thickening darkness. "You're all lying," she shouted defiantly. "I want to do this." But something twisted behind her, fingers like ice wrapping around her ankle again, pulling her back. This time, she sensed they were trying to draw her into the abyss of lost faces and fading whispers. "Alex!" she screamed, fighting against the relentless tug of the shadows. Yet, deep within her, a visceral connection tied her to the darkness. What if Alex had truly become part of it? What if she could save him, but at the cost of her humanity? The thought made her stomach churn, a nauseating clash of love and fear. With all her strength, she fought against the grip, anything to reach Alex. She lunged toward him, stretching her hand as the darkness roared like a storm. "I will save you." Just as her fingers brushed against his, the world exploded in darkness, swirling and crashing like a tidal wave. Jenna felt herself split in two, one willful and determined, the other spiraling down into the unknown. "Save yourself," Alex cried, his voice laced with fear and urgency, but as quickly as he called, his image shattered, scattering into the watery shadows. Jenna gasped, the grip loosening for just a moment. She could see him again, or was it just her mind playing tricks? "I want to abandon you," she shouted, the certainty ringing through her. She fought against the rising darkness, determined to pull back his essence from the cliff's edge of despair, but as she fought, whispers surrounded her, overwhelming and firm. "Join us," they beckoned. "You are just as lost." Suddenly, Jenna felt a flicker, the ghost of his touch igniting embers within her heart. She remembered their last moments together, the laughter, the pure light of joy. "No," she bellowed, shaking her head. "I will find the light." The vessel trembled, shadows convulsing violently at her defiance. And just as she thought she stood firm, the submarine yielded another pull, dragging her down once more. Jenna realized, with sickening clarity, that the choice she faced was about to change everything. Choose hope, or be pulled into the very depths of despair. With that thought clouding her vision, the grip on her soul tightened once more, and the whisper echoed ominously in the depths of her mind. "Are you ready to embrace the darkness?" And there, in that treacherous moment, Jenna felt the true nature of terror become clear. Would she chase the shadow, or dare to rise against the tide? A horrifying laugh echoed through the abyss, the darkness swelling around her, as fate wrestled with her fractured heart. What awaited her in this jagged choice? In the echoing void, a new question arose: how much pain was she willing to endure to save her son from the endless night? The darkness enveloped Jenna, heavy and oppressive, wrapping around her like a thick fog. Her heart raced as she struggled against the pull of despair, fighting against the shadows that clawed at her ankles with insatiable hunger. With each moment, she felt her strength waning, the whispers crawling closer, creeping into her mind, wrapping her thoughts in tendrils of panic. Was she truly fighting, or had she already begun to slip into the abyss? Mom Alex's voice rang hollow, echoing in the mire. "You have to listen to me, then tell me what to do," she shouted back, her voice splintering under the pressure. "I want to let you go." The darkness thrummed with a chilling rhythm, almost like a heartbeat, a reminder that something lived here, something ancient and eternal. Shadows shifted, forming shapes that beckoned her, each face a memory of loss and longing, reminding her of the lives stolen and the screams drowned beneath the waves. Jenna came a new voice, hollow and ethereal, whispering from just beyond sight. "Join us, feel the peace." "No, I want tea," she screamed, eyes darting around, desperate to see Alex. But she was alone, suspended in the void, fighting against an unseen horror. The twisted shadows shifted, elongating into grotesque forms. Suddenly, a piercing shriek cut through the ambience. Jenna gasped. A figure broke through the darkness, an apparition of a boy, one she almost recognized. His eyes were wide, filled with anguish, the skin of his face stretched too tightly over bone. "Help me," he screeched, reaching out, his arms stretching beyond the boundaries of reality. "What happened to you?" Jenna's voice trembled, caught between terror and empathy, her mind racing. "Join them in the darkness," he wailed, but as her fingers twisted in its direction, the boy dissolved back into shadows, lost again into the dark. Jenna's pulse quickened, terror sparking in her eyes. How many others were there? How many had succumbed to despair? "Don't listen," Fight it! A voice roared, breaking through the quiet like lightning. She recognized this one. The bold defiance was unmistakable. Don't allow them to take your heart. Alex, she shouted, searching desperately, but the shadows shifted like a stage curtain, revealing nothing but more darkness. Where are you? Right here, Mom. His voice echoed through the abyss, a warm light amidst the cold dread. Don't give in. You're stronger than this. The swirling shadows paused, almost as if they were listening, coiling back momentarily. Jenna took a stumbling step forward, realizing there was a strength building inside her, warm and bright like a morning sun. What do I do? She called out, her voice firm against the darkness that sought to trap her once again. Focus, Alex shouted. Remember the love, remember me. Images of laughter flooded her mind, memories dancing through her like light breaking through the murk. She saw Alex as he was, full of mischief, tenderness, guilt-free joy. The shadows writhed angrily, tightening around her as they sensed her shift. Jenna clenched her fists, determination washing over her. I choose hope. I will not let go. The shadows convulsed violently at her declaration. Their whispering grew shrill, clawing at her sanity. You will suffer. You belong to us. They hissed, voices merging into one hideous chorus. Jenna shut her eyes, feeling the weight of despair pressing down. But with the flicker of a memory, a pulse of warmth surged through her. Her love for Alex electrified her will. She ripped open her heart, letting the light spill out, a beacon against the malevolence. But just as she felt a hint of triumph, the darkness coalesced around her, bending and shaping to form a monstrous visage. Hollow eyes, dripping with sorrow and rage, stared into her soul. You think love can save you? You think you can escape? I will escape, she screamed, forcing her hands forward, pushing against the horror. I will find my son. The entity howled in response, a sound full of fury and pain, and it lunged at her massive, swirling, suffocating eye. In that moment, Jenna realized the truth. Love could either save or consume. An intense surge filled her, a final desperate push against the encroaching darkness. Would it be enough? And as the void threatened to swallow her whole, Jenna felt a shocking pull, as if the decision hinged on that very instant. What cost would she have to pay to reclaim Alex from the shadows? As the abyss roared around her, Jenna's heart raced. Maybe, just maybe, there was a way out. But what if it was a path riddled with horrors she couldn't foresee? With that last thought hanging in the oppressive air, the moment quivered, and all fell eerily silent, the anticipation electrifying, the darkness waiting. The silence settled thickly around Jenna, an oppressive pressure that filled her lungs with dread. A shiver ran down her spine, tingling like icy fingers before all at once, the whispers returned. They slithered into her ears, soft and seductive, promising solace, promising release from her torment. Choose us, Jenna. No, she gasped, clenching her fists tighter, digging her fingernails into her palms. The pain grounded her, reminding her she was still alive, still fighting. Suddenly, the ground beneath her shifted. The darkness trembled, rippling like water disturbed by a stone. And then she saw them, figures emerging from the shadows. Faces twisted in agony, hollow eyes reflecting everything she feared. They stepped closer, each one a fragment of lost hopes and forgotten cries, their mouths moving silently, as if desperately trying to scream. Don't listen, echoed Alex's voice, haunting and hollow, flowing through the darkness. Visualize me, Mom. I'm here. With a desperate surge of longing, Jenna pictured him, his bright smile, the way his laughter would echo through their home. That warmth filled her chest again, pushing against the weight of despair. But it wasn't enough. The shadows were advancing, relentless and ravenous, their whispers clawing at her sanity. Help us, they pleaded, voices overlapping in a cacophony that made her want to cover her ears. Don't leave us here. Join us. But Jenna could see the truth behind those words. It was a trap, a cruel mockery. Each enticing offer was a pull closer to their cliff of despair, a plunge into oblivion. I want tea, she shouted defiantly, her voice cutting through their wails. I want tea, abandon Alex. I refuse. But the shadows seemed to pulse with fury, swelling like a storm. You will suffer, they screamed, a whirlwind of angry voices merging into one. You will forever regret your choice. A towering shape loomed before her, a grotesque silhouette formed from all the lost souls she had seen. Its cold breath washed over her, stinging her skin. Jenna's heart raced as she faced it, adrenaline surging through her veins. The creature's hollow eyes bore into her, promising madness and despair. "Show me what you are," Jenna screamed over the chaos, pushing back with the last reserves of her strength. "If you want my heart, show me your true form." The darkness laughed then, a chilling sound vibrating through her bones, and began to shift. The shadows peeled away like layers, revealing something ancient and terrifying, a vast emptiness that seemed to swallow the surrounding gloom. Within that emptiness, echoes of forgotten screams resonated. "Are you prepared to face the truth of your own darkness?" It whispered, feigned mockery lacing the air. "What you hide, what you fear, it may consume you." Jenna felt a knot in her stomach as her past flooded back, mistakes, regrets, shadows crawling through the corners of her mind she had long tried to ignore. She recoiled at the memories, the arguments, the moments of doubt, at times when she put work over family. Each memory cut like glass, dredging up an unbearable sense of guilt. "Alex," she cried out, her voice breaking. The thought of losing him twisted her heart. "You embrace love, yet you harbor powerful fear," the entity taunted. "What will you do once you realize that love can fracture? Will you still fight, knowing all you want to protect may shatter?" "No," she shouted, forcing herself to breathe, to think. "I refuse to let this consume me. I know it exists, but I won't let fear guide my actions." The shadows screamed in rage, a blast of air rushing toward her, fierce and chilling. Jenna squared her shoulders, she felt heavy, burdens that threatened to weigh her down, but still, she had to press on. And just like that, she remembered Alex's words. "Focus. Remember the love." Tears streamed down her face even as determination ignited within her. She would choose love, not fear. She would face the clamor of her past and pull herself from the grip of despair. But as she focused, the shadows coiled tighter, nearby, and the void stirred ominously behind them. In an instant, she felt the darkness shift again, thick and potent, as if something else lay in wait within that turmoil. Jenna gasped as a new figure materialized, this time disturbingly familiar. The face bore the weight of anguish, eyes dark and pleading, a cruel twist on Alex's features. "Mom," it called, voice drastically distorted, "why won't you save me?" Her heart plunged as the chilling truth settled in. Was this truly Alex, or a deceiving shadow meant to divert her resolve? And as the barriers of love and fear blurred, the question clung to her mind, haunting. What would she sacrifice to reclaim her son, and at what cost? The figure stepped closer, eyes searching desperately through the haze of shadows, and Jenna's heart raced. It felt torturous to look, to confront the potential haunts of her mind. But maybe, just maybe, if she believed hard enough, she could reach Alex before the darkness swallowed him whole. "Alex?" she whispered, the doubt slithering back into her chest like an unwanted guest. Was she already losing him again? "Mom, please." The distorted voice trembled, a haunting echo that slipped under her skin. "You need to let go. It's the only way." Every instinct screamed at her that this was a trick. Genius manipulations lashed at her resolve. The shadows danced around them like vultures, ready to feast on her vulnerability, and she could feel her strength wavering. "No, I won't abandon you," she shouted. "You aren't real." The figure's face contorted in pain. Shadows blended and twisted, as if they themselves were distressed at being denied their meal. "But I am here. You can't escape your past, and I am the embodiment of that pain." It was true. She could feel the weight of her decisions pressing down around her, threatening to crush her. The face began to fade, morphing back into the swarm of shadows. "You'll lose me forever if you keep fighting," the ghostly whispers promised, a sinister caress over her skin. "Just give in." Jenna gritted her teeth, blocking out the words. She recalled the moments when Alex had stayed up late, waiting for her return from work. His innocent laughter had brought joy to their home. The way he tucked his teddy bear under his arm at night. She couldn't give in. "I choose love," she screamed anew, more fiercely this time, focusing on the warmth of genuine memories, fighting back waves of despair. But just as Jenna seemed to gain some footing, the shadows burst forth, an explosion of darkness that encircled her, thick as smoke. Breathing felt impossible as the air grew taut with tension. She saw them again, countless faces, all twisted in anguish, all pleading for salvation. Jenna stumbled back. "What do you want from me?" she yelled, her voice piercing through the cacophony. "Your truth," came the chilling reply, echoing around her. It was the voice that convinced, that reminded her how easy it would be to stop fighting and surrender to the void. "Accept the grief, the darkness. It can set you free." "Free?" she cried, barely able to hear herself over the shrieks surrounding her. "You're a lie? Then why do you keep us here?" The question hung like a knife in the silence. "You could have saved us long ago." Reality twisted, her memories crashing like waves. Jenna felt exposed, her heart racing with the tension of all she had sacrificed. Shadows uncoiled from her mind, wrapping around her, clawing at her skin, whispering truths too painful to embrace. Their breath was cold, silencing her resolve. "Why do you fight for a son who can't be saved?" they hissed, menacing and seductive. "Give in and join us. It's easier." For a moment, hesitation threatened to take root, entangling her in doubt. Her shoulders slumped, the weight almost unbearable. But then she felt it again. Alex's face emerged in her mind, bright and laughing, piercing through the gloom. He had fought so hard. "Mom, don't give up. Remember me." Just as resolution bubbled within her, tears filling her eyes, the ground beneath them shook violently. The shadows writhed, anger erupting in twisted chaos. Jenna dropped to her knees as the echoes of anguish crescendoed into deafening howls. Then, the light flickered. A thin beam broke through the oppressive darkness, illuminating the figure of her son. "Mom," he cried, more clearly this time. "You have to fight. Please, fight." The darkness lunged at her with a visceral snarl, shrieks piercing through her heart. Jenna's pulse quickened as she prepared to leap forward into the swirling chaos. But she needed to know. Could she truly save him? Was fighting really enough? And as the shadows clawed at her, the truth drew closer, hanging by a thread. What if the darkness was not just a reflection of her fears, but something far more powerful, waiting to pull her under? She took a deep breath, and in that moment, she knew she had one chance left. Could love really conquer the void lurking just beyond her grasp, or was it too late? The darkness howled as if woken by her defiance, a feral thing hungry for fear. Jenna's heart raced. She felt the shadows seeping into her mind, slithering around her thoughts, tightening their grip. A low growl echoed through the void, reverberating against her skull. "Fight," the shadows mocked. "What do you think your fight has accomplished? You're alone. Your son is lost to you." Jenna screamed against the pressure. "No, he is still with me. I won't let him go." The shadows paused, the growling fading into an eerie stillness. She felt the presence of Alex swirling around her, fragile and flickering like a candle in the wind. Taking a step forward, she felt something shift beneath her feet, a fraying connection to this nightmare she had been dragged into. "Mom, trust me." Alex's voice pierced through the fog, clearer than before. It was tinged with desperation, but laced with love. His laughter flooded her mind, filling the void with warmth, igniting her resolve. But the shadows stirred, rising up like a tidal wave, cloaking Alex in their suffocating embrace. She could see his outline struggle against the thickening dark. "Keep fighting. You can pull me back." At that moment, the shadows lunged, thick tendrils reaching for her, probing her very essence. Cold, clammy fingers trailed along her skin, as if testing her will. Jenna breathed sharply, pushing the fear down, no more second-guessing. With every ounce of strength, she screamed, "I choose life. I choose Alex." Light blazed forth, carving through the darkness, igniting her path. It was a pure, brilliant light that contrasted violently against the shadows' inky blackness. The shadows howled in anger, recoiling as the warmth spread, illuminating the swirling chaos. "A trick, a lie," they spat, losing coherence as the light separated their tendrils, allowing glimpses of the world beyond. Grasping the urgency, Jenna lunged toward her son, reaching through the rift between despair and hope. "Mom." His voice was a lifeline, pulling her closer. But as she stretched out her hand, the shadows squirmed violently, clawing at her, desperate to retain the power they had over her. Come to us. Embrace the pain. Only then will you find peace. They hissed, weaving a web of chilling truths, dredging up old failures and long-buried regrets. Jenna felt the familiar pang, flickers of doubt, but she steeled herself. My love for him is stronger than your lies. She screamed, refocusing her energy. The darkness writhed, the shadows screaming this bright warmth was a threat they would not permit. Jenna twisted her body, gathering all the love she had. The moments spent with Alex pooling like molten gold in her heart. It radiated toward the shadows, illuminating the dark corners of her despair. As the light surged, Jenna felt the shadows' grasp weaken, the surface of the void breaking apart like brittle glass. But just as she thought she could break free, the shadows surged again, pooling into a vortex aimed straight for her heart. Remember your failures, they screeched, voices merging into a terrifying symphony of the lost. But then, she sensed Alex in her heart again, his laughter breaking through. He was fighting too. You can do this. Follow the light, Mom. He echoed her emotions, reaffirming her strength. As Jenna's heart swelled with love, she plunged forward into the brightness. The darkness exploded in a chaotic rush, its essence crackling in the air around her as she reached for Alex's outstretched hand. But just as their fingers were about to touch, everything stilled. Mom, what if Alex's voice wavered, fear settling into his tone, as the shadows drew back to reveal nightmares she thought she had buried. She gasped as the images unfolded, dark secrets twisting around them. Memories she hadn't wanted to face loomed like ghosts, threatening to consume her. What have I done? She whispered, realizing that the fight had only just begun as the shadows circled once more, ready to pounce. Would the truth set her free, or would it trap her forever? Jenna's breath caught in her throat as the memories unfurled like a gruesome tapestry, each thread woven with guilt, each color saturated in sorrow. The pictures seized her heart, pulling her under with the weight of their reality. A faint flicker of Alex's figure shimmered in the distance. The shadows around him twisted violently, distorting his form. Mom, he cried, desperation lacing his words. Remember the good times. Focus on the light. But all she could see were the shadows, dark tendrils creeping in on her mind. Faces emerged, her parents, eyes vacant with disappointment, echoing their familiar reprimands. Friends lost in her carelessness, their laughter now haunting specters demanding retribution. Leave me alone, she shouted, hands clenching into fists. The shadows wrapped tighter, like a vice around her sorrow. They whispered her regrets, a sickening chant of failure dragging her back into despair. Jenna, do you truly think you can escape? This is who you are. They sneered, their voices melding into a chorus of mockery that reverberated in the void. No, I'm not defined by my past, she roared, her voice barely containing the tremor of dread. She pressed forward, feeling the pulse of the light within her flicker. For a moment, the brightness intensified, overwhelming the cold clutches of darkness, as if questioning the strength of shadows. Mom, it's okay. I'm right here. Alex's voice surged through the chaos, igniting a surge of renewed strength. She could almost see him clearly now, his smile breaking through the murky dread. Hold on to me, he urged, stretching his hand toward her. Driven by sheer will, Jenna forced herself to move. Each step felt like wading through molasses, her heart pounding with effort against the heaviness. The shadows hissed, and she could feel them slipping around her, brushing against her skin like ice. With each beat of her heart, the memories shifted. The darker moments slipped away, replaced by the laughter of family dinners, the warmth of summer trips, the soft lullabies sung to Alex as a child. She clung to those memories, feeding the light with every joyful encounter. It surged with intensity. Fight, Mom. You're not alone. Alex's plea sliced through the dark like a knife. Together, she shouted, the word bursting from her lips as she reached beyond the shadows. She felt like a taut rubber band, ready to snap free. But then, suddenly, they screamed in unison, a cacophony of detest. You think you can escape? You think you can change? You are trapped by your choices. A blast of darkness erupted, sending her spiraling backward into the void. Fear gripped her, a vice leech snatching at her all-consuming heart. Without the light, she felt the shadows close in, wrapping her in the very thing she had fought against. No, I want to become this. Jenna screamed, desperation breaking through at the thought of losing Alex, losing herself. But the shadows tightened their grip as if sensing her wavering courage. They began dredging up buried truth, her failed marriage, the crushed aspirations, the decisions that had never aligned with her heart. Each revelation rang hollow and painful, an echo of her fractured spirit. Can you face it? They taunted, circling like a pack of wolves, waiting for the right moment to strike. Or will you succumb, just as you have before? Jenna's breath caught again. The shadows weren't just manifestations of her despair. They were the reflections of her buried truths. I can't let this keep me hostage, she muttered, grappling with panic. Shadows flickered in response, swirling around her like dark water. Just as they lunged, Jenna felt a sudden shift. A brilliant, blinding light erupted once more, flaring as if signaling the resurrection of hope. I choose to confront my truths and fight for my son. She howled defiantly. The shadows howled in fury, recoiling as brightness erupted, illuminating the dark corners of her anguish. But as the light surged, Jenna sensed a looming threat within the very essence of it. Behind the brilliance, a chilling whisper slithered, but what if the truth ends up worse than the nightmare? And in that split second, Jenna realized the hardest battle might not just be against the shadows but the grim revelations waiting to spill from her heart. Jenna gasped, the whirlwind of thoughts spiraling in her mind as the shadows regrouped, readying for their next assault. The light flickered softly, and she understood it had dimmed at the very moment she hesitated. Still, she held on, her heart thrummed with the vivid memories of love, warmth, and the laughter of her son. They would not win. Alex, she shouted, her voice resonating through the void, ricocheting off the walls of despair. I'm coming for you. Suddenly, the darkness stopped dead in its tracks. Shadows melded, shifting uncomfortably, and Jenna pushed onward, fueled by defiance and love. No more would she cower in fear. She had come this far, she would not back down now. With every step, her heart surged with purpose, memories cascading over her like a warm wave. She recalled Alex slipping his small hand into hers, the way his eyes lit up with excitement when she promised to take him to the zoo, how he laughed when she played with him in the park. Each joyful moment solidified her resolve. Come on, she yelled, racing toward the swirling chaos where Alex's figure had shimmered, just out of reach. We're almost there. But as she sprinted, the shadows lashed out, barbed tendrils of darkness striking at her, seeking to wrap around her limbs, to zap her strength away. She stumbled, but caught her breath, drawing upon the warmth of those memories. You have no power over me, she shouted defiantly, shaking them off like chains. And in that moment of clarity, she recognized the truth. The darkness thrived on fear, on doubt. If she relinquished her love, it would gladly consume her whole. Mom. Alex's voice echoed back, clearer now, filled with urgency but still fractured, as if held back by barriers within the darkness. You have to find the truth. It's the only way. With renewed determination, she remembered his face, bright, innocent, her baby boy who deserved the world and more. She could not falter. Gritting her teeth, she pressed forward with the force of every flickering light in her soul. Together, she cried, pulling strength from her heart as the shadows retreated slightly, their hissing turning to a low growl, fragile against the love that poured out of her. The light began to brighten once more, wrapping around her, solidifying her choice like a shield. I choose to face my past. I will not let it bury me. In that moment, the swirling entities paused, a collective gasp reverberating through the darkness, their grasp loosening slightly. The flickering images of her past twisted and roiled but held a clear truth. Mistakes were simply chapters in her life, not the entirety of her story. Each failure, each disappointment, was nothing compared to the love she harbored in her heart. I want to lose you, Alex, she shouted again, pushing forth through the thickening haze. I want to abandon you. I want to become what you want me to be. The shadows howled in anger, undulating with fury. But she was unwavering. As she approached where Alex had been, the chilling shapes danced back, expressionless, watching with a terrifying intensity deep with self-interest. She forced herself to look beyond their grotesque manifestations and meant that she was ready to face their grotesque truth, because within that pain dwelled an immense power. Suddenly, the shadows closed in on her again, fierce and clamoring, all their voices merging into one deafening roar. "You'll regret facing what's inside," they screamed, a final attempt to sway her. "You can't escape the past." But in that dark torrent, flickers of light began to spark. Beneath the shroud of despair, a radiance burst forth, illuminating everything: the love, hopes, memories, and the small hand of a boy reaching out through the darkness. Forcing herself to breathe deeply, she steadied her heart. "I will embrace the truth," she declared resolutely, and with a fierce shout, she reached out toward the light. "I am a mother." As her words pierced through the cacophony, the shadows recoiled violently. The darkness erupted like a swarm breaking apart, a wailing mass that churned as an alien presence trailed. "Back, Mom!" Alex cried, his figure becoming clearer, transmuted by the newfound illumination. Jenna surged forward, propelled by the light erupting like a sunrise, bridging the gap between their fractured worlds. Her heart pounded furiously. Could they reunite? At their fingertips, the light surged, expanding and illuminating all around in a brilliant halo that pulsed rhythmically. "Hold on," she screamed, witnessing Alex's small body surge toward her, shrouded in warmth and light, unraveling the twisted shadows that clung to him. "Mommy!" He reached out desperately. "Please." Her heart soared with lost hope, a flicker of joyous realization igniting within her. "I'm here. Always." Time slowed, and in one expansive moment, their fingers met. A shockwave coursed through them, a jolt of clarity that surged like electricity bolting through the very fabric of their being. The shadows screamed, colliding with their united force, but they stood fast. Together they found strength in love. Every shared laugh, every moment spent nurturing, fought back against the dark clawing at their bodies and souls. And with one final battle cry, they thrust themselves inward, ripping through the very heart of the darkness until it shattered, bursting into fragments, dissipating like smoke in the light of day. As the shadows collapsed, Jenna could feel something lift from her heart, something heavy and painful. She gasped deeply, a sense of release flooding through her, an exhale of everything she had held captive: regret, fear, isolation, all swept away in a tide of liberation. Jenna blinked, the vast nothingness around her now a shimmer of vibrant light as it transformed into the familiar warmth of home. Real walls, real air, a moment filled with swirling colors giving way to dawn's early light. "Mom!" Alex's soft voice called, and she turned to see him standing right there, alive, untouched by darkness. "Alex!" She pulled him into an embrace, feeling his warmth seep into her bones, the joy of lost moments impossibly restored. Tears tumbled as she held him close. She had fought the shadows, faced the depths of despair, and emerged victorious, side by side with the very light that saved her heart. "We made it," she whispered, feeling every bit of love fold around them. "Yeah, we did." He smiled up at her, his eyes sparkling with innocence. Jenna knew there would be long days ahead facing life, its challenges anew with vulnerability, but they would face it together. "Let us go home," she murmured softly, hand in hand as they stepped into the light, leaving the shadows behind forever. And as they walked, a lingering echo rippled through the air, a reminder that love would always triumph over darkness. If you felt the tension and thrill throughout this story and want to experience even more hair-raising, heart-stopping tales, you need to subscribe to my channel now. This is the moment to show your support. Hit that like button now to feed the algorithm and help more people uncover these chilling epics. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about this wild ending. Let us hear what you think. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. True fans understand the importance of spreading the love.